The historic tax credits were first created thanks to an amazing grassroots lobbying effort, spearheaded really by Eric Friedman, Jerry Schlichter, and several other folks from St. Louis who believed that renovation of older buildings here in St. Louis could bring a tremendous amount of economic development, could help revitalize a lot of aging neighborhoods, and could help create not just economic development here, but also draw people from all over the country to want to be a part of the city of St. Louis.
A tax credit for people who renovate historic buildings or renovate buildings in historic districts in the state of Missouri.
You could fire a cannon down Washington Avenue, for instance, here in the city of St. Louis on almost any evening and not hit anybody, and certainly on weekends. And the great rehab of those wonderful old buildings had really not gathered any momentum yet. Over the next 3 years, a huge amount of renovation occurred of wonderful old buildings, and we restored a lot of life to the heart of the city of St. Louis, and the urban renaissance was given a chance. And so I see them as enormously promising, not just for big cities like St. Louis and Kansas City, but also for small towns like the town I call home, Cape Girardeau, south of here. Historic preservation tax credits have been very beneficial to the revitalization of downtowns, large and small, all across our state.
Well, on the broad basis, I think the tax credit is an incentive to development. Basically, it incents developers to develop properties in the city or in, DeSoto, Missouri. I don't really think it matters where they are, but it incents developers to try to get these buildings done. And I guess what I mean by that is, for example, today I had lunch with an architect who did a building around the corner from here. It's an old synagogue. And he was talking to me about how they got $2 million in tax credits, and the deal would not have worked if they hadn't had this $2 million in state tax credits. And he's showing me through this old, gorgeous synagogue. It's beautiful. They have law offices there. They have an architect's office. They have a web design company. I mean, there's all this different stuff in this old synagogue that wouldn't have been done except for the tax credits. I think the tax credits are a but-for event. But for the tax credits, there would not be, these buildings being redeveloped. It's too difficult. It's too costly. It just 99% of the times the financials would not make sense without it.
As I said, it was created in 1998 by the legislature. There was no cap put on the program, and the first couple of years it was a small program, and then over the last several years it's grown as developers have come downtown, turned a lot of the older buildings into loft apartments, condominiums, and businesses.
It's provided an unbelievable impact on the city, both downtown and in the neighborhoods all across the city. For the first time in 50 years, we have a population increase in St. Louis. Let me say that again. For the first time in 50 years, we have a population increase. This is directly tied to the redevelopment of communities all across the city. And even if you don't live in a historic district, because all boats are rising as the downtown rises, as we see a new core, people are more willing to make investments in cities.
Well, the fight is that some lawmakers believe that there should be a limitation put on the annual amount of tax credits issued, or that they should all be subject to appropriation, and that is run through the legislative process where politicians would have control of them, and I have some concerns about that.
The program's being attacked in the state legislature by a group referred to as the Gang of Seven, now the Gang of Six, who are attacking the program in the name of reform.
Well, I think there's a group of legislators who think that by reducing or eliminating the tax credits or somehow kind of putting a cap on the tax credits that they'll save the state of Missouri money. And frankly, I think it's a huge mistake.
Because this program has been so good and has returned somewhere between $2.50 and $4 to the state in development, construction activity, taxes paid and everything, sales taxes and everything else, for every dollar that they cost the state.
For every dollar that the state invests in tax credits, they get back $4. And the Rutgers study actually says that within 2 years, they get back their original investment. And after that, then it's all gravy, right? So how are you saving the state money?
So this is the best jobs program that we have. And yet reformers, for some reason, want to reform the best job program we've had ever in the state of Missouri. The Quality Jobs Program, which is part of the Economic Development Bill that historic tax credit has been lumped onto, or these reformers have attacked through the Economic Development Bill. The Quality Jobs Program that the governor wants and a number of people in the state legislature, the Speaker of the House also wants to have passed. In its entire history, this Quality Jobs Program has only produced 2,300 jobs. 1 year, historic tax credits, 4,000 jobs. Quality jobs, 2,300 jobs in its entire life.
The bill has come up almost every week for the last 6 or 7 weeks, and each time I've talked for several hours, usually on the floor, sometimes in tandem with other legislators. Senator Jason Crowell from Cape Girardeau and I have had many conversations about this bill. He and I differ on some aspects of the bill, but we both agree that in its current state, the bill will probably be worse than the status quo. So we'd rather see no bill at all than the current version of the bill.
Any kind of change in this program will stop the process. Bankers will not loan money to do development unless they're sure that there's a program that can help finance these projects. So if the bankers don't lend money, the developers can't go out and buy buildings.
Well, for example, in Iowa right now, they're trying to change their tax credit law to be like Missouri's. When we went to Louisiana many years ago, 5, 6 years ago, to talk to the governor about the tax credits, they wanted to model their tax credits and did after Missouri. And that's why they've been so successful in rebuilding New Orleans. And you look at stuff like that and you think, okay, well, wait a minute, everybody wants to be like us, right? Everybody wants to have the program like us, have the program be as successful as the state of Missouri's program is. And here we are talking about going backwards. Sometimes, we do things that don't really make sense.